One works.
That one works.
Okay. I will call to order the Board of Commissioners of Nether Providence Township meeting for April 11th, 2024, and we'll start out with roll call.
Dave Grady, Township Manager.
Robert Scott, Township Solicitor.
Max Cooper, Ward 1 Commissioner.
Matt Carson, Ward 2.
Kate McKenzie, 4th Ward.
Candace Carbone, Ward 7.
And we have some people traveling for work and some people ill tonight, but we do have 4 commissioners here for a quorum, and we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic. All right, executive session will be held after the meeting tonight. Next on the agenda is public comment, but there is no public here to comment. We have a couple openings still on Parks, Shade Tree, and our EAC. Maureen, could you maybe refresh that in everyone's inbox, the descriptions of those positions so that, and just with a note recommending that we forward to our ward so we can get those filled. All right. On to approval of the minutes. We have the minutes from March 28th in our packet. Let me pull those up here. All right, so Commissioner Garson and Commissioner Henry were not there. The other commissioners were. I will make a motion to approve the Board of Commissioners meeting minutes for March 28th, 2024. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any questions? We have one abstention. All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 3-0 with 1 abstention. Is there anything on the solicitor's report that's not otherwise in the agenda?
No, thank you.
Anything in the engineer's report that's not otherwise in the agenda?
Okay.
All right, on to government relations report with Commissioner Cooper.
Thank you very much, President McKenzie. One continuing item of discussion today, as the commissioners and public may recall, at our last meeting, we discussed that we are accepting bids for the Leapers Medley Trail Extension Feasibility Study. This is a 100% grant-funded study from the county. We received 2 proposals for the Leapers Medley Trail Feasibility Study. The low bidder was a proposal of $74,581 and change over a 7-month process. And that was Traffic Planning and Design, Inc. The other bidder was Remington Vinnick with a bid of $148,000 and a 12-month process. And as a reminder, this grant is for $75,000. I had a couple questions before I made a motion to approve, just for discussion. Is there any kind of difference in the deliverables that we'll get between these 2 studies, or are they both going to allow us to proceed with the trail as planned?
Maureen reviewed the proposals more in depth than I did, but as far as I could tell, the deliverables would be the same and was what was requested in the proposal.
Thanks. Just with such a large difference in financing, I wanted to make sure there wasn't something that we weren't getting from the low bidder. That being understood, I move that we accept the low bid in the amount of $74,581.67. Do I have a second? Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor vote so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Hearing no opposition, the motion passes 4-0 for Traffic Planning and Design, Inc. And back to you, President McKenzie.
All right, thanks. And I'll take Parks and Open Space in Commissioner Henry's absence. The first item is the kudzu removal. We talked about this last time, but there will be an event in the Furness Park on April 20th. There's a sign-up link available on the website. The event is from 9 a.m. to noon. I believe there's a bird event in Houston right before that. So you might want to send that to your ward if you haven't already, and just note that those things can go hand in hand. The next item is the use of Hetford for baseball camp. MPA baseball had approached me and Commissioner Garson and probably looped in Dave as well about using Houston Park for a 1-week camp that they were going to run, that this private organization would run this summer. I think there was some back and forth between us about the use of our fields by private organizations and needing some some guidelines on when that is going to work and when it isn't. And so in the packet, there's a draft field use policy. This was the result. Dave started to draft this. I think some pieces of it began with the school district's policy and just some things that Commissioner Garson and I thought were important regarding the number of township residents that would be involved in the private event and the funds from the event being some sort of fundraiser for one of our community organizations. So in this case, the organizer has agreed that they would open the camp to Nether residents before it's open to other residents, and there will be a portion of the tuition fee for the camp, which I didn't think was really that high. I think it was $250 for the week for the baseball camp, and a portion of that was going to be sent back to Nether Providence MPAA baseball for as a fundraiser. So I think that this generally met the metrics that we were considering, and I was thinking, the three of us sort of, as we discussed, we're thinking this could be a good opportunity to see how this works and see how many township residents do sign up and how good of a fundraiser this can be for the organization. But I think the secondary issue, and it's just a 1-week camp, and baseball is sort of suggesting it. So that would mean that, it won't be conflicting with them using the field because they're the ones sort of suggesting this might be a good idea. But hopefully everyone can take a look at the field use policy. I think you probably haven't had a ton of time to look at it yet, but I think tonight the decision needs to be whether we're going to allow this private organization to use this Houston for the 1 week this coming summer. And then secondarily, I think we should keep reviewing this draft policy and think about what would be important to you to make sure that our fields are open for residents when they want to use them, but also understanding that in some situations, these camps can be a good benefit to kids in the community and families in the community. So we have to make sure we're balancing those two things. And so, Dave, do you think we need to vote on allowing them to use this, or I guess, yes, okay. We actually don't have the name of it in here. Does that matter, Bob? Do we just call them the private organization?
Let me see if I have any.
It's like,
Might
is
have.
it EC1 or something?
Policy. Seems like America.
It's EL1 in
Okay.
Newtown Square.
Okay, so given what we just discussed, I would make a motion to approve EL1's use of, it's actually Hetford, sorry, I thought it was Houston. It's use of Hetford Park for baseball camp for 1 week in the summer of 2024. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions?
I had a couple of questions. I'm generally fine with the outline. But how big is the organization that'll be coming to Hetford? I know parking's been an issue there, so.
I'm not sure. I think it's going to be sort of a drop-off baseball camp. I don't know if they told us exactly how many kids are.
And the last question that I had was, is all the kind of fundraising money going to baseball, or is some of it split with the town? I'm just trying to think of like increased usage, increased maintenance costs. How are we deferring that?
This-
None of it's going.
Yeah, none of it is going to the town. This is, I think it's $20 per kid is going to MPA baseball. And I mean, that's something to think about. And I think that's actually addressed in the policy based on who's using the field. Like, there's different categories. This is a one-off, but go forward, it would be sort of community organizations versus nonprofits versus private organizations. And with the understanding, especially with the turf field, that we're going to need to make sure that any use takes care of maintenance. In this situation, it's a really sort of brief period of time. And so, if this allows MPA baseball to raise $400, they seem in favor of it. So I think this would be sort of allowing them to do that in this situation, but I think there is agreement that going forward, if it's gonna have an impact on the park, that needs to be taken into account.
Yeah, and we'll also be, after they have this camp, we'll be able to gauge, how many of the attendees reside in the township or the school district or
Mhm.
outside of those boundaries altogether. But I think that that'll be one of our considerations when we craft the usage policy.
Sounds like you got-
All right, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries 4-0. And on to Public Safety Committee with Commissioner Garson.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is the Multimodal Transportation Fund Grant Award. This is for pedestrian crossings near Wallingford Elementary School. At the last meeting, it was noted that the township was awarded funding through the DCED's Multimodal Transportation Fund Program. Solicitor Scott's reviewed the contract and he has no concerns. The item for tonight is to consider approving the contract. In addition, we need to discuss rescoping the project to include only one crossing. That's based on, I believe, the amount of funding that we were awarded. We just can't do both. So the consideration would be either Chatham Place and Providence Road, which is in front of Wallingford Elementary School, or at Kershaw Road and Brookhaven Road, which is the location where a couple months ago we put the solar-powered flashing crossing signs. So in addition to that, rescoping, a consultant also needs to be chosen unless we use the township engineer. So I guess,
Would you recommend us using a different consultant, or is this something that you guys feel comfortable doing?
Probably one use track.
Okay. And is that, yeah, what do we usually use? TPDs?
Planning.
could Al do that?
Alpha rate goes for that retention.
So
Do you have a recommendation for someone who would be cost effective and good for this, or do you want to think about that?
I think I would maybe get a proposal from Al
Mhm.
and from TPD and see. if they're-
All right, can we do that then?
you can do that, Dave. And then in terms of, I don't know if we want to approve the contract first or rescope, maybe we'll talk about the rescoping first.
Yeah, I think, we've sort of discussed this,
Yeah.
and I felt like we had discussed it at the last board meeting, but I think traffic tends to, I think, go faster and it's harder to see on the Brookhaven Road. I think, it'd be nice to do both, but, I think that intersection is significantly more dangerous, so,
No, I
that would be my
agree.
vote, yeah.
Same. Anybody else? Any other thoughts?
Chief, what do you think?
Some thought, I think with a lot of traffic on Brookhaven Road, not only do you have the school traffic that crosses, but they're limited to parking across the street in the Chatham Circle,
Hmm,
where you have, at Brookhaven and Kershaw, you have middle school traffic going one way, high school traffic going the other way, you have, elementary school traffic, you have, traffic for the Wallingford train station as well. So I think there's a lot more pedestrian traffic, at the intersection of Brookhaven and Kershaw. I would recommend putting it there and the existing signs that we just purchased down to the Chatham and Providence.
no, I think that sounds good. Steve, while we're talking about the intersection, and I'm gonna only interrupt because I will forget about this, that where Kershaw comes up to Brookhaven, the road is eroding, and it's really like, if you're coming off Brookhaven to make a right down there, maybe our public works guys can take a look at that and like build that up right there. It's like, it's already so tight to turn right, and now it's like, feels like the road is, piece of it fell off.
Sure. Sorry, say that again. Coming
Like,
up Brookhaven,
It's on Kershaw, like, but coming off of Brookhaven.
which,
So-
going towards train station or towards township building?
Train station. Mhm.
To the other side.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other side of Kershaw, the school side.
School side. Okay,
Mhm.
great. We'll take a look.
Okay. See if I can do this all in one motion. I will move to approve the contract between the township and the DCED's Multimodal Transportation Fund Program for the installation of a pedestrian crossing at Kershaw Road, and Brookhaven Road.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes 4-0. Moving on.
I think, do we need a vote to rescope it, or we just agree to rescope
I
it?
put like kind of,
Oh, did you
I
say?
said
Okay.
Kershaw.
Yeah, you did. All right. All right, good work.
thanks, Brevity. All right, so moving on, the next item on the agenda is the Rose Valley Road speed limit reduction approval. As noted at a prior meeting, the township had requested that the speed limit on East and West Rose Valley Road be reduced to 30 miles an hour. Although the request was denied in 2023, PennDOT ultimately agreed with the recent request. So this is good news. It sounds like the entire length of East and West Rose Valley Road through the township will be reduced to 30 miles an hour.
Also in Rose Valley
And-
Borough, I
Right,
spoke with the Rose Valley Borough Council President, and they were in favor of it also being reduced there, so.
so the township will be responsible for installing the speed limit signage and will do so once PennDOT instructs the township. It's just informational, but good news. And that's the end of my report.
I have a question. How long does that typically take? Like, when does PennDOT instruct the township?
I think it should be pretty quick.
Okay,
They-
it's not
they-
like months and.
Take the victory we got, quick response we got.
Yeah,
last-
I actually can't
That's
really
true.
believe it after.
I know.
Yeah, I didn't expect that.
We requested less area and then they gave us the whole thing. So
Yeah,
thank you,
we-
PennDOT.
They, so one of the things we did is we asked Representative Kruger to write a letter of support, which she did. They did another traffic study and determined that the average speed in the area was about, I think it was 32, 33 miles per hour in different sections. So they said because of that, it wouldn't meet the criteria to drop it down to 25 miles per hour. But they said they could do 30 because it's still within their buffer. I guess they can use some engineering judgment. So I had a couple conversations with the PennDOT person, and I don't know, it worked this time, so.
All right, on to finance and administration, and the only item on my agenda is a first quarter financial update with township manager.
All right. I'll be quick with this. There is a file in the packet with information. Generally, we're doing very well so far. Throughout the year, we seem to be in line with most of our expenses. Nothing overly concerning. Some of our public works overtime is pacing a little faster than where we are through the year. But that's going to slow down since we've made it through the winter months. And I think could even withstand some additional overtime that, if we needed to do some work on weekends and things like that. So we'll keep an eye on that. From a revenue perspective, though, our tax collections are already at 90%, which is great. Our building permit revenue is also over about 50% of what was estimated. And, the corresponding expenses is also higher with that. But I think overall, that's a good sign for the economy because that means people are taking out loans, they're doing work on their properties. So that is a good sign. Likewise, our recycling fee, which is tied to our tax bill, is also at about 90% collection. On the expense side, really nothing too concerning. We're right on track with our larger expenses. Couple of things here and there that have been a little higher, including some repairs to the township building, some cleaning expenses related to switching over to a new cleaning company. We have, let me see here. The purchase of vehicles, we purchased our vehicle, the recent F-650 came in earlier this year. We had to pay for the upfitting cost. So those are things that, you know, percentage wise, appears to be kind of high with regard to where we are in the year. But overall, we don't expect many more expenses, with those. As compared to last year, at this point, we have a much larger surplus at the moment. At this point in the year, we always have a giant surplus because the tax collections come in late March, early April. So right now we're about 4.5 million revenues over expenses, again, largely because of the tax collection that has come in, which is compared to last year at this point was 3.9 million. And the year before that was 3.3 million.
How are we doing on our recycling contract? I know I always bug you about that.
Yes. Second here. Recycling, we appear to be right on target. We've used about 30% of our budgeted expense, and we're about 30% of the way through the year.
No, that's great. All right, thank you. Appreciate it. On to community health and environment, and I'll take that for Commissioner Barnes. Summer camp registration has begun. Information is available on the website. Volunteer counselors are what, 14 and 15 years old? And then paid counselors start at 16. So if you have kids interested in attending or kids interested in volunteering or working there, please check out the website. The second item is Arbor Day proclamation. This signifies the township's official observance, which is dedicated to planting and caring for trees, promoting environmental awareness and conservation efforts worldwide. And this is something that we've committed to doing, as we are a tree city. Okay, on to the Infrastructure and Public Works Committee report. I'll do that in place of Commissioner O'Connor. Our paving program is about to start. So we've been talking about this for the last several meetings, selecting the streets and selecting the contractor, and now they're ready to begin paving. We had mentioned this last time, PennDOT's waiting for the county aid to be approved before it officially issues township approval. Have we made any progress on that? I know we were going to check in with county council. Like, did we hear anything or we're just not? Okay. All right, let me make a note. And then, so we are waiting on that to literally get started. Is the pavers ready to start like any day? Okay. Okay, so that's just informational. Hopefully we'll get that tied up and we will be able to start paving the roads that were selected for the road program for 2024 shortly. And on to building and zoning committee report with Commissioner Carbone.
I actually have a proposal to discuss something within the infrastructure regarding paving. I'd been talking to Dave. I got an email regarding Waterford Way. And a portion of it there is pretty eroded with several one area with potholes. And a proposal to discuss adding in Waterford from, right now, we're including Waterford from Kent, but to add, Providence to Kent along Waterford. And I wanted to discuss potentially adding along Waterford from Kent to Blue Hill. Charles estimates it to cost, was it an additional 17,000, I think you had previously said? And Dave thinks we have enough in the liquid fuel funds to cover that.
You said we're currently going from Providence
To Kent. Yes, to add in that. Yeah.
Charles, do you know what that was rated before?
it wasn't the highest priority, but I noticed that when I was going and checking the streets for this year's list, I noticed that the first block was extremely bad. Like it deteriorated significantly from the previous time. That's why I got added into this year's program. The next block is, it's more better.
Okay. I mean, it's not a lot of money. I just want to make sure we're, because there's sections everywhere we could
Yeah,
add if they're not rated.
Mhm.
How's the rest of that road past, it looks like.
Or fair.
Yeah.
At Blue Hill, there's a spring problem.
Mhm.
There's a spring that's developed behind the curve. Right there. We have a storm sewer that's right there, and it's been historically been a problem. Where the public works goes in, they'll repair it. That repair will last for a couple of years, and then the spring clogs up the system that they put in, and it overflows on the street and causes damage to the street. That's what's happening right now. The spring has reemerged in the street, so we need to get public works in there first to address the spring problem. And then repair the road.
So if we do this additional section, then the rest of Waterford, we'd have a couple of years probably. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, this section, yeah.
yeah.
All right. No. That little
Right,
section.
and run with it, yeah.
Just while we're talking about the memory of the kind of road program discussion this year, we have a somewhat more limited kind of matrix evaluation of which road is in which condition in the prior year. We had all of them. Would we be able to get a more comprehensive look at all the roads?
Well, we used to just add them as people noticed issues. And then a couple years ago, we had Charles, what did he called it? His like Great Road Show or something, like throw around the entire township. So that was an unusual request and probably very time consuming. So I think we just need to make sure we're not doing that every year, but I don't know, how many years was that ago?
2
2 years ago? Okay. Yes.
That's a good point.
All right, then do we need to vote to add that in? Okay.
So then I would make a motion to include along Waterford Way from Providence to Blue Hill in lieu of along Waterford Way from Providence to Kent. And include that in the township paving program of 2024.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? And that proposal passes like 4-0.
All right, and you are up.
All right. I have Building and Zoning Committee report. The 414 New Jersey Avenue final subdivision plan was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission. This plan will come before the Board of Commissioners at our next meeting on April 25th. And then in regards to zoning, there are 2 applications on the agenda for the zoning hearing board, which is occurring on April 15th. The first is a residential application for 17 Green Valley Road seeking 4 variances. And the second is the Spring Haven Club for a single variance for netting or defined as fencing, but netting exceeding 6 feet in height. And that is everything.
All right, and we can leave that informational for now. Poster stuff. Yes, okay. Okay, then we will move on to managers report.
Thank you, President McKenzie. Just a couple of things. There is a household hazardous waste event coming up next Saturday, April 20th at the Emergency Services Training Center in Sharon Hill. Registration is required. The next event after that is Saturday, May 18th in Rose Street Park. We have our Birdtown event that is going to be happening on April 20th at 8 a.m. in Houston Park, which, as President McKenzie noted, is right before the kudzu removal event in Furness Park. No registration is required for the Birdtown event. There is registration strongly recommended for the kudzu removal event on April 20th. So again, to celebrate Earth Day. The Helen Kate Furness Library is having the Stacks event this next Friday from 5:30 to 7:30. We've also been working with the library. They're going to be doing a couple events this year in the township parks, including one in Hepford. So more details about that to come, but we're excited that the library is planning some events in our parks. Representative Kruger and Senator Kane are holding a pet expo. This is an opportunity for pets to get vaccinated. Waiting on the flyer to open up here, just a moment. The Pet Expo is this Saturday, April 13th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Free vaccines, microchips. This is at Upland Park at 286th Street in Brookhaven, PA. There's information on their websites, and it is sponsored by the Delaware County Kennel Club and the Brandywine Valley SPCA. The Leaper House is going to be reopening for their spring tours. There's no fee to go into the Leaper House, but donations are appreciated. The tours go from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays. For our staff thank yous, first for our police, I know we had some of the West students were visiting this week and getting a nice tour of the police department and some of the equipment. Chief, did you have anything you wanted to share with that? I saw Officer Sweeney seem to be kind of corralling everyone.
Yes. We had 4 classes come through, first graders from the Wallingford Elementary School to tour the police station. And I think we've had 4 this week, and we have 2 more visits early next week as well. And kids and the officers seem to have enjoyed themselves. And they had a group.
I feel like the jail the best.
Was a little chaotic.
Yeah.
How much of that was from the kids and how much was from Sergeant Montgomery? Yeah, that's right. You get a bunch of kids at once. For the kids or? In our Public Works Department, I'd like to thank Carl Schaefer. Carl has been leading a lot of the planning for the Hepford Dugout project, which is getting underway this week. So they were able to make some good progress Monday through Wednesday of this week. And then, with the rains coming, they should be revisiting it next week. So they're working to complete that as quickly as possible. And then lastly, for our staff, I'd like to thank Maureen. She figured out a difficult technical thing with our TV monitors up here that even GoTo was struggling with. So
I feel like if you're here, you should take a bow.
yeah. So now I've got a better setup. It's like I have 3 screens. It's great. So, and that is it.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Maureen. The next meeting will be our legislative meeting on April